that'll make you throw fits with chocolate biscuits. Chocolate biscuits! Bring it on down with some butter and cheese, crackers and grits, that'll make you throw fits eating chocolate biscuits. Chocolate biscuits! In the bowl of soul patty, hot, not cold.
Well, hi, back to Joan's Kitchen, or Joan's Kitchen, or JJ for Joan Justice, whatever you want to call me, but I'm happy that you tuned in to me because I'm going to make homemade biscuits to show my grandkids how to make homemade biscuits, and chocolate gravy. And my chocolate gravy is very, very good. Right now we need 2½ cups of flour, and this is for dry ingredients, and this is for wet ingredients. So we need, and if it says 2 cups, it means level. It doesn't mean heaping. So here's 1, 2, and 1/2. Then, now if you want to, you can put a little bit of sugar in it, but it really doesn't matter. I think the sugar probably makes it brown a little bit more. But then we put in the salt, and the salt is like a bagash. My mom used to call it bagash. So you put a little bit like that, and you take a whisk and whisk it so that everything will get mixed. And then you put in butter. And you have to remember, butter isn't only good for you, it's better than margarine, because years and years ago, I found out that butter is better for you than margarine. If you set margarine out on your counter, it's not going to melt. It's next to plastic. If you look it up, it'll show you that on the internet. But butter will melt at room temperature, so it melts and goes out of your body. So you want real butter, and a good quality of butter. And you get your biscuits and your biscuit dough, and you get it to looking something like cornmeal, but not that small, because you want the pieces of butter, because the pieces of butter make your biscuits or your pie crust fluffier, because it's fat. It doesn't mean that you're going to get fat. If you can only eat 1 biscuit, then you're going to be okay. But if you keep eating all the biscuits, then you got a problem. And to cook your biscuits, I have, and we got this idea, I have this. It's a flat iron skillet, and I put butter in it. And we got that idea from Bob had a Aunt Mary that was a wonderful cook, and her daughter, he called her one time to get information from her, and she said to use that and put butter in it, and it works well with these biscuits. Now we want buttermilk. And you'll use a little more than 1 cup. And you don't do it real hard, because you're going to have tough biscuits. You just want to stir in enough buttermilk to get it wet. And then you don't, I don't need these. K-N-E-A-D. You don't work them. You just turn this around, and then you put flour. It's very, very simple. You put flour on your board, and right now I'm going to use my countertop so I can show you. And you get more flour, and you just sprinkle a little bit of flour, lay it out on the flour. And you may need a little tad more flour so that it won't stick to your hands. And scrape this content, the dough off. And this looks hard, but it's very easy. And you do not work this. You're just really careful because you want those pieces of butter. And remember, the more you work your dough, the tougher it's going to get. So I just mash it out a little bit and get a little more flour. Get my spoon. Not quite a tablespoon. And then you get something to cut it out. And I like big biscuits. Now, I just warmed this up to get the butter melted. And you do this. And it's just as simple as can be. There you are. And then you put your oven on, I put mine on 455 for about 12 minutes. And we'll set the timer. There we go. My timer is set. And I'm going to make the chocolate gravy. And you take a portion of butter and you melt it. I took maybe a little more than a half a stick. And then I use Baker's sweet chocolate. You want to have Baker's sweet chocolate. Get a whisk. And then we need milk. And it's better to use the vitamin D milk or half and half. I like to put a little bit of half and half because it makes it richer. Okay, now that I've put the flour in, and if you use, if you like another tip that a friend gave me about 35 years ago, maybe 40, if you start your flour and milk with butter, you're not going to have lumps. Like if you're going to make gravy, you're not going to have lumps. And you have to stay here with this white sauce until, and you do it with your whisk or you're going to burn it. And we're going to need a little bit of salt. Just a tad. Salt brings out the flavor. And I don't want to burn this. And then with this Baker's chocolate, I use like a half a bar. Easier to handle. And you just break it up. And this is going to be loud when I do the blender. But you'd be glad that you did because your chocolate will melt. And this is going to be real loud. And it makes it like cocoa. And then you just stir it in. And we use a little bit of vanilla. Just a little bit. And this is going to be very good. And I am baking the biscuits while I'm making this, would probably take you, if you were really organized, the biscuits and this would probably, you could whip it up like in 20 minutes once you get used to it. But the gravy, and if you want it rich, I'm going to put just a little bit of half and half. Because the point of chocolate gravy is to have it tastes like a dessert. And you want to cook it long enough so that you get that floury taste. You have to cook flour. I don't like to use cornstarch. And I guess you could if you wanted to. And you let it boil. I'm going to check on my biscuits, because they're not going to be ready for a few minutes. We'll give it a few more minutes. And we need a cup of sugar. I'll get a new cup so we won't get flour in my sugar. And you want your sugar, you don't want it grainy. I've had chocolate gravy. The first time that I had chocolate gravy was over probably 53 years ago. That's how old I am. And it was at well, they called it a Bible school, but for me it was a boarding school, because I just went there to have fun. My dad sent me there because I was a rebellious teenager. And that's not, my grandkids didn't know that for years. But I had big time problems. My dad was a pastor of a church and I hated it, because I had to do things. What if brother and sister so-and-so would see you? Or what if they'd see you go to a movie? Or all these things. So I ran away. That's hard to believe. That this person that's standing here ran away with a boy. I got all the way from Nebraska to Idaho. My dad, he got me back home. And the policeman asked me, well, does he beat you? Is he mean to you? The airhead that I was at 15, I said, no, but he will this time. That. So anyway, he sent me away to school. And I'll tell you, I didn't like it there, but I became a new person. And the reason that I became a new person is I turned my life over to the Lord. It was the best place for me. And by the way, that chocolate gravy was so good, I haven't forgotten it. Now look at these pretty puffed up biscuits. And the school was in California. So I don't know how in the world they heard about chocolate gravy. But they did. Chocolate gravy is from the South. Now here we go. There's just a little bit. And I am going to put a little bit right here just to show you. I should have put butter on it first. But there is, this is how you make Sierra and Savannah and Brandon and Marissa and Cassidy and Mia. This is how you make biscuits and gravy. The end.